2023 was the year that I got back into art and to pursue my passion that I've been putting off for way too long. My goal in 2023 was to sculpt every day. And throughout that year, well, I sculpted a lot of things. Things that I'm really proud of and things that I do not like. So at the beginning of the year, I focused a lot on digital artwork using ZBrush 3D modeling. And by the end of the year, I was way more into clay. So to make things easier, I'll be showing you guys all the digital artwork that I did throughout the year first, and then, we'll switch over to clay just to make things a little bit easier. So let's, get into it. So I do have a bit of background in digital art, a little bit in clay, but since 2016, I've been on and off with my art for probably too long. And by 2020, I kind of just completely fell off. And over the years, I've just been focusing on other things until, well, today. So let's check out the first piece that I worked on in 2023, Mr. Knows-It-All. As you can see, giant ass nose, not very good. At this point, I was just trying to get back into the whole digital sculpting, trying to do something freaky, something fun, and not my favorite. But we're just starting out. We're getting back into the swing of things. And I'm not too sure why his head's shaped like a penis. Not my favorite. I really hate this. Actually, looking at this now, I really don't like this. Let's just move on to the next one. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Forgot about this one. For my second piece, I wanted to do kind of like a full kind of creature scene. Just something small. And so I came up with this concept of a fly. Has no wings, but flies with his little top hat spinner thing and is pooping sauce onto the pizza while he's tasting it. And of course, there you go. There's where the sauce is coming from. Kind of out there, kind of wacky. Looking at this again, I do like this. I do like underneath the belly, giving some nipples there. I do enjoy how the flow of the sauce is coming out of his butt in the splash. I thought it turned out really cool. And the pizza, pepperoni could be a little bit better, honestly. I could have went into more detail, but just learning. So some of these will be in the ZBrush, the file, and others will just be pictures that are rendered out and then deleted because I didn't want anyone to see. In this one, Zombie Dude, it was my take at trying to get back into human anatomy, the head, and it looks terrible. I hate this so much. Let's move on. At this point, I was having a really hard time getting back into the program, so I signed up for a course on Udemy, which teaches you all the basic functionality of ZBrush. And one of the works that we had to do was making a Minotaur, which, I am pretty happy with how it turned out. The instructor was great. I learned a lot of how to follow reference, a bit of anatomy work with the bull and the horns, and this turned out way better than the Zombie Dude ever did. And I will continue working through this course with working on an axe. Now, I'm not a hard surface expert at all, but doing this axe was a lot of fun. There's some issues with it, like right here, as you can see, it's supposed to be more round, but for some reason, the box modeling created this hard surface spot, and I don't know, I couldn't get rid of it. And then the edges are on the end of the blade, it looks a little weird as well. But other than that, I'm kind of happy with how it looks with the handle. Just trying to learn the basics of ZBrush. So this guy, we call him Little Bill. I did kind of a prompt on Twitch stream. If you guys don't know, I stream over on Twitch, also here on YouTube. And sometimes I'll take prompts from chat to try and make a creature. And I think the prompts were udders, platypus, and eyeball, I think. I can't remember, but yeah, this is my first take at trying to create just kind of like a full figure creature. I don't like the body. The head, I do like. It's very stylistic. I can see, creating maybe a thicker body for him. Make like a cool little toy out of him, but let's just move on. For a project for a stream, I wanted to dive into taking a cute little creature and then turning it into like a disgusting beast. And I did a couple Pokemon, and this one, Pikachu, Nightmare Pikachu, is the one that I worked on. So as you can see, Nightmare Pikachu, I really challenged myself with this one. This took a little while to do, right? I didn't gather much reference at all for any anatomy on this dude, just Pikachu. Honestly, we sculpted the whole thing, painted him as well. My whole idea for this dude is that he got infected with a parasitic space worm, which is this thing, and then the tentacles are popping out of the top there, and he just got transformed, Pretty happy with this one. I'm really happy with how he turned out, though I really didn't do any texturing at all. No wrinkles, no pores. I especially love the face and the big old knuckles dragging on the ground. I just like this whole thing, right? I like him. He's creepy. He's creepy. Here's my attempt again at face anatomy, but I want to do something non-symmetrical, kind of like his face was melting off a bit. Again, really rough. The proportions are terrible, like the cheeks are way too low, the nose is fat, the eyes are just, and the ears are, and it was just a quick little thing, and not my best. Oh yeah, I forgot about this dude. So it was around Easter time, and I wanted to do an Easter sculpt, and I came with this idea of the Easter bunny hatching from an egg, but kind of a little bit inspired by Aliens, you know, those eggs with like the weird stuff crawling up the egg. And we painted this dude and everything. I think I did this in one stream. I forgot that I have a tendency to do like really dark eye bags and make them look like they're on meth. Here's another non-symmetry monster. Call him the Rockman. The idea was a Rockman, and I think I failed completely at this. I'm gonna burn this one, I think. I continued on with my course, and we did another hard surface sculpt of a sci-fi helmet, which it was a lot of fun to do kind of a helmet. Learn how to do some paneling, use some of these brushes. I think the ILM brushes, I believe, or can't remember. Do the hoses, and a lot of this is just drag and drop onto the helmet. I learned a lot doing this project as well. Learned how to use different tools within the program of ZBrush. You can see the different sizes of the bolts here. On the top and on the side. They probably should have stayed the same size. Even here is different size than this. I should have took more time on this one, I think. Oh god. Here I go again. Trying to wow, that's a big bussy. I'm trying to do another full figure sculpt without any knowledge of basic proportions or anatomy or any of that. I think my idea was to create kind of like a Hellraiser type of creature. You know, his face is like hooked to his body and his arms, but I know the one to burn. So after I did the Pikachu for my stream, I had to come up with another project to work on, and someone mentioned doing a creeper from Minecraft, and I did my take on a more realistic version of, you know, the creeper, more of like an insectoid coming out of the lava, long tongue, sharp teeth, and just like these dead eyes. Pretty fun to work on. I even did a lot of the texture work here. I made him more like a scales, like a snake skin, kind of, all the way down. Has these giant long legs that are kind of like spider legs, and just bursting out of this lava. Kind of looks like rocks, but I swear it's lava. I even did some painting to make it look like lava. Have his guts hanging out. I'm pretty happy with it. I think I'd change the legs so it looks like it's more into the body. And then, of course, I had an obsession with like these spines coming out of the back. Creeper from Minecraft. Oh yeah, this just started as a head piece, I believe, without the body. And I thought, oh man, I gotta add a body to this dude because I'm really digging how this guy's looking with the horns and the face. Like a Doom character, right? And then I'm trying to create this body for him, and it's just not looking good at all. This is supposed to be like a robe of some sort, like human skin or something. And then just like the proportions of that giant arm is way off. I still do like this face. I mean, there's definitely a way to take this. It would make a cool monster mask, I think. I told myself I wanted to work on something a little bit more cartoony, not another Pokemon, something from the bottom of the sea. And this is what we came out with. From last year, I think this is one of my favorite digital artworks I did of SpongeBob. The whole idea is that he put on the wrong pair of pants here, which was like an alien, and this alien just kind of infected him. You can see like the tentacles going up, infected his sponge body, and kind of just turning him into its own host. Keeping his eyelids open and his mouth all warped, big tongue, lots of wrinkles, lots of pores. Well, sponge pores. I don't like the hands actually, now that I'm looking at it. I also did try to do feet. I don't mind the feet though, right? I mean, he's more of a cartoony character. He's got those cracked heels on the back. And I actually posed this character like he's walking. But even did the painting and everything. And at some point, I will 3D print this off. And this is where we start to try and make Bikini Bottom. So at this point, I was having a lot of trouble with anatomy, knowing the proportions and the forms of the human body. So on Udemy, I took another course to help with my anatomy knowledge and just trying to get better at art. And one of these courses was doing a skull and breaking down all the muscles and stuff. And this is the skull I sculpted from that course. Pretty bad. And then I did my second attempt at a skull, which this is looking a little bit better. Eyes looking a little bit better. You know, just overall the proportions compared to this one. I don't know, to me this looks a bit better. Maybe it's the cranium. In the cranium it looks better compared to this one. And then from the skull sculpt, we had to do a head without using reference. And this was the head I did. And then through the course, we started doing more faces. Like this one, this looks way worse. I'm not sure why he looks like Vin Diesel. I think I was watching a lot of the Fast and the Furious at that point. Not too sure.
Terrible, burn it down.
And then this was another one that I did, and apparently I was just getting worse, and worse. The more I tried to do it, things get worse before they get better, apparently. Though the heads look terrible, the course really helped me out to understand more of the facial proportions, how I should maybe take my time when making a face. And for a short project to kind of start using everything I learned through these courses, I wanted to try and make Toad from Super Mario Bros. More into like a realistic kind of creature that you'd see in a movie. And this is why I would imagine Toad to look like in like a live action Super Mario movie. Kind of nightmarish now that I'm re-looking at this. I haven't looked at it since I made him. I did color him, you know, put in his like his vest, little mushroom head, and just kind of practice what I learned through those courses. But yeah, that's Toad. The next one I want to do just like a simple creature bust, and I've always loved Pacific Rim and Godzilla and all that, so I want to do my own little kaiju bust. And this is the kaiju that I came up with. This is supposed to be like an aquatic kind of kaiju. It's got that kind of frog throat that would like spew out acid. I even added in the saliva and the teeth and more of the textures. At this point, I was getting pretty comfortable with texturing the whole thing. I want to do this rough surface, this rough skin. And I was definitely getting a little bit more comfortable with trying to take that anatomy and putting it into my creatures. They do seem to be getting better as I'm going through these, which is pretty cool. Now for something a little bit more out there. Something a little bit more freaky. My spider. Oh yes, this thing was a lot of fun to work with. I wanted to do creepy creature. I've always hated spiders, so I wanted to combine spiders with kind of like the thing. Idea of this dude is underneath here is like these tentacles that come out, and it sucks in the person and kind of blends them and molds them into his sack. As you can see, there's like faces in the sack, like people who were kind of absorbed by him. They're still there, they're still conscious, but now they're just part of this thing, and they want to die. And with this dude, I really pushed myself, especially with the faces and the sack and the legs, and this was like a full figure that I did on stream as well. And the painting, I tried different painting techniques within ZBrush and a lot more detail. This is a pretty heavy mesh as well. I wanted to have kind of like a skull shape here as well to kind of mimic what like a person. If you see it from afar in the shadow, it kind of looks like a person, and then it comes out, you're like, wow, that's not really a person, is it? So after the spider, we went back to Bikini Bottom and we worked on another lovely character from the SpongeBob show, Patrick. And this is what I came up with for Patrick. Still kind of realistic, but also cartoony, especially with the eyes there. I didn't want to make them too like realistic. I think the hardest part was trying to figure out what would a starfish look like if it mutated. So I created this like split all the way down to his fat belly. You know, he's fat, he loves to eat, right? So that's how he would eat. Gave him some back fat, still added the shorts, so we know that is Patrick. And have these tentacles come out, his belly, have the slime there. Have his big old nipples and man boobs. This is what I'm still pretty proud of. I know, I just love the whole idea of like characters, especially cartoon characters, mutating into these grotesque monsters. So yeah, this was Patrick from SpongeBob. This one was supposed to be an orc bust, but it started to look like Thanos and I never came back to it. And actually I just might delete this one. Back to doing another head sculpt with this dude. I didn't finish this one at all. I just tried to do a head. This was a speed sculpt I did, trying to practice proportions and trying to get better at speed while doing a head. The lips are very puckered. My mouth eyeball alien that I never finished. This is supposed to be like an eyeball coming out of his mouth. There's a lot of these that I started but never finished because I didn't like the way it was going. I usually just abandon them, like this one. Now this one is where I started to understand more of the face anatomy and started to put in what I've been learning. So this actually started out as just a generic face sculpt, but I kind of stylized this a bit more by taking his jaw, you know, and just elongating his face, making the ears a bit bigger. You know, he's definitely more stylized, but I took my time to pay attention to the shape of the skull and cheekbones, the brows, muscles underneath the face, the lips. I even went in there and textured this dude, which is crazy, jeez. I even did the eyes with a cool eye painting technique that I learned, although his eyes are a little bit off now that I'm looking at it. But this is where I started to understand a little bit more about the face and the head and everything. So after this dude, I did it in my own time. We moved on to doing another Pokemon, Vaporeon. Yes, it looks exactly like Vaporeon. Can't you tell? This Vaporeon was a lot of fun to do. I wanted to do an aquatic monster, and somebody mentioned in chat, how about Vaporeon on Evolution Eevee? I'm like, okay, what would Vaporeon look like if it was like a Lovecraftian creature? And kind of took some inspiration from Lovecraft and World of Warcraft, created this creepy Vaporeon. I am still so happy with how this head turned out, just the jaw and everything. And the teeth, I spent a lot of time on these teeth. The eyeballs, same painting technique I used on the stylized guy. And the eyes are actually looking a lot better now. They got a little bit more form and shape and more eye bags. This one doesn't look too much like a crackhead, but they still have that dark undertone there. And for the arms, the anatomy is a little crap. Okay. So here's another head study that I did, but I kind of did like a vampire sculpt over. So I laid out the initial face, and then I tried to have some fun with it and make him into like a kind of like a vampire. I think this would make a really cool monster mask, honestly. Here's another speed sculpt that I did. I want to do like a hunchback guy. I don't know what's with me and doing giant lips. Didn't come back to it. Don't really like it. Probably delete this. And you might tell by a lot of my sculpts that they don't have hair at this point, because hair is difficult to sculpt and I haven't gotten around to it by this point. So a lot of them are just kind of bald without eyebrows or hairs. Here is another head course that I did, learning the planes of the face, which was honestly boring to learn, but if you want to get better, you gotta do these kind of tests, right? And so in this one, learn the planes of the face, try to make a face and then plane it out as well, and then try to break that even more down into even smaller planes. It was very difficult. By doing these, you do learn about the planes, what different planes and shapes will make on the face. Let's be honest, anatomy is pretty boring and dry. Doing this kind of stuff can get a little bit dull. So that's why I think it's important when you're doing anatomy, you should at least do something else on the side, like a monster or something, and just have fun, or else you're gonna get burnt out on doing all this stuff. Around this point, I needed a new project to work on, and so we continue working our way through Bikini Bottom, and got to sculpt one of my favorites from that show, Plankton. My idea for this dude was that he got the secret sauce, the secret formula, but Mr. Krabs tricked him, and as he ate it, well, he transformed into this grotesque little plankton monster. He's got a little mini-me growing off the side of him. Their tongues are kind of intertwined together. His arms become very big and grotesque. Of course, got sharp teeth and a big mouth. And with this one, I actually played a little bit with hair physics, as you can see here. So when you render it out, it looks like hair. It's pretty neat. This dude didn't take too long, and I'm still pretty happy with him. But then we move on to another dude that I'm not too proud of. A mosquito man. I really hate this one. Despise everything about it except for the eyes. This took me forever to figure out with the eyes to make it look bug-like. Because those bugs, they have like a bunch of different eyeballs or whatever inside one giant sphere. So that was kind of difficult to figure out. I think I forget how to do that now. And then having this like mosquito pincer come out that sucks blood. And this whole thing's a mess. This is not very good. I hate it. It looks like a used hobo sock. And I want to delete it. You didn't see this one either, guys. You didn't see it. It was around this time that I was not happy with my progression, so I decided to take a really intensive anatomy course that breaks down all the bones in the body, all the muscles and everything. And this is what I've worked through so far. The face, so much better. I have learned so much going through this course. This course teaches you the underlying structures of like not just the face, but like the full body. As you can see, the arms and the torso, and laying out the muscles one by one, sculpting on top of those muscles to make it look good. Legs, haven't gotten to the feet yet, or the hands. But this is a very long course, 70 something hours that I'm still working through. So for days, I just spent hours and hours doing this course, which would really help me into making a creature bust that is probably one of my favorite pieces of work I've ever done. And it was around this point that this movie called The Last Voyage of the Demeter was coming out about Dracula. And this is what I came up with for my own take on a on a Nosferatu or vampire, right? I took concepts from The Last Voyage, from the trailers that I saw, the old Nosferatu movies from 1922, because I like the big pointy teeth in the front, and I wanted to combine kind of like bat anatomy too with humans, so I gave him these big ears, big forehead as you can see there, and then I wanted to create kind of like his bat wings or kind of like this cape coming down around him. I remember taking just a lot of time just to get the proportions of the face right, creating like all these wrinkles going down the neck and then doing the ears as well. It was at this point that I realized, well, using reference actually helps a lot. So I got a lot of ear reference, skulls, faces, even bat faces and the nose, and trying to really pay attention to details, which I'm hoping to turn into a monster mask at some point. Here's another dude that I tried to make out, inspired by Frieza from Dragon Ball, with like the little dome shape. I did a lot of changes to this guy as well, and I just want to try and apply what I've been learning in my course to this dude, making like kind of like a full figure. I'm not done with him yet. I'm still not sure what to do. I will continue and try and finish this guy at some point. But as much as I love full figure stuff, there's something about just focusing on like a monster bust or a monster mask that I think I enjoy a lot more, because you can just get so much character and expression just out of like a face, you know? Here's a speed sculpt of an aquatic monster I did on stream as well. You know, by this point I was getting faster at doing these speed sculpts and doing a lot of the detail. This guy has a lot of like gnarly detail in the mouth. And this is kind of supposed to be like an aquatic sea snake of some kind that lives at the very depths of the ocean. He's got these like little vines that goes into his like brain here, and a big like open bottom lip that will like suck onto you. Here's another face I tried to sculpt, trying to make him more stylized. Kind of looks like Jim Carrey from The Mask, or the Skibby dude from the toilet. I'll probably burn this one as well. I read about an article of this woman contracting a brain worm, and I wanted to sculpt something like that and not try and do something anatomically correct and just try and do like a weird gross creature without any human anatomy, and this is what I came up with. The brain, I'm not too fond of the brain. I like how it turned out. I actually take this concept, turn him into clay, which I think in my opinion turns out a lot better, which I will show you later on. I think it was around this time that I realized I was doing like a lot of like creatures and monsters, but I've never took a shot at doing an alien before, like a gray, or forget the other ones. And so this was the alien that I came up with. Eyes very far apart, big nostrils, very pretty lips. Oh my gosh, look at those lips. Very pretty lips. This is where when you're learning about anatomy, it can become really fun. And you just exaggerate a lot of these features, right? Big old cranium, of course, because he's a smart guy. Overall, I like this dude. I like the colors. I try to add some like, not war paint, but kind of like tribal paint, because he's like with an alien tribe. Of course, trying some more eye stuff as well to make those eyes kind of pop a little bit more. So here's another concept of a full character I was working on. A really fat monster. That's what it's called, fat monster. It started off with just the face, which I was trying to make a monster mask, and I absolutely love the head. And I wanted this dude just to be fat. He has these giant kind of like hollow ears, and he just has like this really gluttonous look to him that I really enjoy. And just like these eye bags and the rolls and these big old teethy teeths, right? And I wasn't happy enough just that it was head, so I wanted to make a full body of him, or try to make, and I'm still in the process. It's kind of reminding me of like a D&D Warhammer type of monster or creature. Once I learn how to do clothing, I'll probably add some clothes or armor to him. Man, I give him big booties, eh? If you guys want to see a finished piece of him when he's done, definitely let me know. It was during Halloween time, just did like a quick pumpkin sketch. The little pumpkin monster has the insides coming out, have the seeds in there. A little fun for Halloween, right? So this next one is a concept for a Halloween mask that I wanted to sculpt in clay and make a whole mask out of, which is called the Grinner. Got these big old gums and teeth. Tried a different technique with the eyes. It's supposed to be like a goblin vampire, but this was just a concept I wanted to do for Halloween and use as a reference to clay sculpt out this mask that we ended up doing, but ultimately it failed horribly. But I do have a piece of that mold. Even though the mold failed on this dude, I did 3D print him though, as like kind of like a wall piece, just to kind of remember, you know, have memories. Here is another monster that's also going to be a mask at some point. He is called the Sniffer. You can definitely see how I've been learning more of the face anatomy and applying it to my art. And I tried some different takes with the eyes, using separate tools and creating that flow with the upper eyelid and the bottom eyelid. I wanted this dude to be like very highly evolved monster, So that's why he doesn't have such of a creepy look. He just has an overall nicer look to him instead of like big fangs or anything like that. Almost like something like this could exist in real life. Here is just a hand that I practiced with from another course, just trying to understand it a little bit more. The next creature that I did was for Christmas, was going to be used as a reference for a monster mask. And it's called the Ginger Dread Man. A little ginger dread man, frosting, dots all over his face, a melted, frosted eyeball here. He's burnt on one side, gave him some like gumdrop teeth, a little chin dot, and a nice little bow tie as well, icing lips, and big old rolls on the back. So this was a design that I made. So I wanted to do a monster mask out of clay, because this was where I was getting really heavily into making clay stuff. So I made this guy in digital, then I used him as a concept for traditional. So that was all the digital work that I did throughout the year. There's a lot of those I wish I could forget and burn. But you know what? When you get into making art, we have pieces that we like, we have pieces that we hate. But now, let's get into the clay stuff. So here is an unfinished sculpt that I was going to do of Pikachu. Digital version is much better than this guy. Didn't like how it was going, so I kind of just abandoned it. And I'm going to tear it down and reuse the clay for something else, I think. I think I got a little bit over ambitious with this one, trying to do a full figure for my first one. I'm just going to put this one away, okay? I was pretty ambitious with that one. And at that point, I needed to just kind of tone it back and try and start with something small. So I created a couple like smaller monster masks, which I started with this dude, just like a little small zombie dude made from monster clay. Trying to have fun with it at this point, right? Because I'm just starting out with the clay, trying to get back into it. Although I never really sculpted much over the years in clay, but I've always loved the clay medium. He has no top of the head, so his brain's exposed and his blood's dripping out. And he's kind of not all there, After that, dude, I would move into trying to make kind of like a Lovecraftian smaller monster mask, which is this dude. You can see he's got tentacles coming out of his mouth. No lower jaw though. Has upper jaw. And I just wanted to try and do something a little bit more spooky, Try and get in there with the really good details. And there is a lot of smaller detail on this dude, with the tentacles and all that. And then using beads from Michaels for the eyes as well. So after starting with those little monster masks, I wanted to try and move into something bigger, which is where I created this dude, a snail-like spider. Gross. Made out of monster clay. There's some like dings in this dude. I may have dropped him a couple times. Gave him like 4 eyes using those beads again. Mushrooms on the back. Good old like with a JJ lips on the bottom. He's like a snail, as you can see, his little shell on the back. But he's also a mixture of a spider, which I thought was a really cool idea. This one took a couple streams as well, but was a lot of fun just to experiment with this clay. After the spider was done, I needed a different project to work on, and someone in my community suggested that I should try and make a little D&D figure. I've never tried sculpting anything small before, but I tried my best at making like a D&D figure, like a monster, a bog creature, I should say. And this is what I came up with. This bottom here is actually a cap of a cat litter, and I just sculpted with monster clay on top of this, making like a little bog creature made from, the bog, a skull on the top here, and just vines going all the way around the body. Almost like Man Thing or Swamp Thing, right? And he's coming out of the bog, as you can see. I never made a base either, and I try to make these look like wood as best as I can, and try to make it look like a swamp or a bog as well. Very happy with how he turned out. Probably one of my favorite things I've sculpted, but extremely hard to sculpt at small scale. I'm not very good at it, though I want to do it more. Bog creature, bog man. Here's another unfinished project I was doing. ArtStation has this course that this teacher teaches about making a full figure. Haven't finished it yet. I don't like where it's going with this leg, but he does teach you how to make an armature and all that, and where to start with the body. This is supposed to be more feminine, like a female type creature. I do plan on finishing it because I don't want to waste the wire or the base because it's puttied in there pretty good. But I did learn how to make a big old bosom with this one. When you're getting into art, you're going to have a lot of unfinished pieces that you'll come back to eventually. Maybe months. Maybe years. So at this point, I am sculpting in clay, I'm sculpting digital, and everything I'm learning in digital is actually helping me with my clay sculpting. And so I wanted to try and make my very first full figure out of clay. So I created this character in my mind, the Butcher of Metal's Horror House. And this is what I came up with. Now I didn't have any plans, or I had an idea for this dude, obviously, but I didn't have any reference except for like some anatomy stuff. But I know I wanted him to have like these big proportions, smaller legs, big upper body. So that's why he has these. Oh, his leg's broken there. I didn't realize his foot broke. I'll put it on later. But big proportions, no armature in this guy. This is purely clay. I have dropped him a few times. The arm broken off once. I guess the foot broke off as well. This is my first attempt at making a full figure. Even have a big ass cleaver. He's all happy and giddy. I'm very happy with how the arms and the hands turned out with this dude. I even added nails and some skin texture all over. And I wanted to give him a pose like he's reaching out, you know, about to snatch a child and eat him. He has that gluttony face, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm very happy with this dude and with how he turned out. The Butcher. This one, well, turned into a bunny. I tried sculpting just like a baby face, but it turned more into a bunny. So I used these fake teeth that I have and just stuffed it in there like his teeth are kind of like overgrown his mouth, and stitched on these bunny ears and added pustules and everything. And this is made out of super Sculpey, so hard, and you can paint it if you wanted to. But I just did something quick and fun one night, and this is what I did. It was at this point that I started to really get into clay sculpting. Really started to get addicted to it. So I took that idea of practicing with like the smaller masks that I made, and I wanted to try and just enlarge that a little bit more. So I made this dude an anglerfish kind of monster, like a deep sea creature. Using a piece of wood in the back there, we just kind of sculpt on a flat surface. And this is what I came up with. If you've seen the video, then you'll know the process. Added in like the gross little details here. As you can see, like these hard little pimples, skin textures, even added in scales as well. Eyes. This is my first time attempting to sculpt like eyelids. Not terrible, not great. I'm showing pictures because I don't have this sculpt anymore. I actually melted it down and reused it for the next project, which is this brain bug. If you remember when I showed you the digital work of the brain bug, well, I used that as a concept and I made him out of clay. This one turned out a lot better. So I made the brain look like a brain and then added in these, like the skin coming over the eyeballs. These eyes took so long to do, oh my gosh, so long, but I thought it turned out great. And then instead of adding like fleshy little tongues, I added in these pincers coming out from underneath. Kind of like the brain bug from Starship Troopers. And then these lines here are supposed to be drool, right? Like they're slimy. And then Halloween was right around the corner, and this was the half mask that I worked on. We got everything fleshed out, looking good. The ears were looking good. And then when I tried to mold it and make it a mask, well, everything didn't work. The plaster wouldn't adhere to the clay because I used an acrylic Mod Podge, which was waterproof, so that it wouldn't stick, and it was a whole blunder. And this is all I have left of that mask. As you can see, the imprints of the mouth and the eyes and all that. Just keeping it as a memory of what not to do. Christmas was right around the corner, so I did that concept of the Ginger Dread Man, which he turned out so good. I was so happy with this guy. Added in the melted eyeball, you know, added in this bite mark, even added in like the little bow tie there. This was the first full mask that I tried to do, though I didn't make him into a mask. Since it was Christmas time, I didn't want to waste the materials that I have just on like a Christmas mask. So I did end up completing him, but then I tore it down and reused the clay for other things. But you know, I took some nice pictures. It just turned out really great. Very, very proud of this one. So after that one, I wanted to do another full figure because it's been a while since I had done a full figure. And at the time, I was pretty addicted to Lethal Company. One of the monsters in that game I absolutely loved was that Jack in the Box. I did my own kind of version of the Jack in the Box. And his legs, well, they're pretty beefy. Sculpted from monster clay. The anatomy course I took digitally really paid off with the anatomy of the legs and the proportions. The arm, I still have issues with the arm. Kind of stylized the skull as well. Kind of wonky looking metal box. Is even turning the rotating thing. And it has the lid on the back and everything. And this one, I think I got like a couple weeks to do. Just because of the anatomy and the detail of this thing. Pretty creepy. And it even has like these like little roots running up the back of the skull to hold them in place. I continued to do some more YouTube tutorials. And I created this little thing. Like a little half zombie, or I guess a quarter zombie face. It started off as an eye study, and then I kind of transformed it into kind of like a quarter zombie. I can see teeth, boogers, the nose is missing. You know, it's just the bone there. Got the brows and all that in there. As much detail as I could for sculpting in clay. And it's not baked yet, it's still soft. Pretty happy with how it turned out. And again, just practicing anatomy, right? Then after that, I moved on to trying out some really cheap dollar store clay. I created the creature from the Black Lagoon, this dude, from very cheap dollar store clay, like $2 clay. This guy was just a quick sketch that I ended up keeping because I just loved how he looked. Really like the clay. If you're looking to get into sculpting, go to your dollar store. The clay is more than usable if you want to dip your toes into it. But yeah, creature from the Black Lagoon. I wanted to do my own little take on him. Use some reference from the old movie. Add in these little whiskers that catfish have, and I thought he turned out pretty cool. He got a little fin hawk there. Yeah, this was my first small bust I've done in years, and I thought it turned out pretty cool. And the final thing that I am working on right now is, well, I will show you, I guess I can show you. It's a full mask that I've been working on for a couple weeks now, which is this dude. Now this guy, it is a Wendigo, kind of halfway through transforming, so that skull is pushing out of the face, and you know, skin's peeling back, and you can see the teeth and all that in there. The horns are popping out, and you can see, and we're just working on the texture of the skin. So this is going to be a full mask with antlers and everything, and I'm going to make a mold and cast it in latex, and I'm going to paint it at some point. I'll have a full video of the whole process and everything that will be up on the YouTube channel. But right now, he's not done. It's still got a little bit more work to go through. So that is pretty much everything that I sculpted in 2023 when I first started. Starting from digital and then slowly kind of more going into the clay territory. There's just something about clay that I like a lot more than digital. I think it's just because I can touch it and feel it and sculpt it, you know, with my hands. Don't get me wrong, still love digital. It's fun to get in the program and just start real quick, right? Whereas sculpting in clay, you kind of gotta pre-plan a bit. But it was really cool kind of going through when I first started and then seeing the progress that I made throughout the year. Still some things I don't like that I wish I could unsee, but other things that I did enjoy making, right? And through this year, I did figure out that I do want to focus on more on clay stuff and making monster masks, since that's always been kind of like a dream of mine. And finally being able to do that and afford that is very exciting. And I cannot wait to do and show you the full process of making, you know, a monster mask. But yeah, that was a video. If you guys enjoyed that, be sure to hit that like button. Let me know in the comments which piece was your favorite. And of course, I'll see you in the next video.